to unmute.
Where?
But there's still no sound.
It's Shabbos. Good evening. Welcome to Congregation Dor Tamid and our Friday evening Kabbalat Shabbat worship service. It is so wonderful to be here with all of you in the sanctuary and those of you joining us virtually for this service, whether you're on Zoom, on Facebook, YouTube, or our website, as we all come together on this Shabbat of this President's Day weekend. We are so glad you are here tonight, coming together in worship, coming together as community, coming together as a family of friends to welcome in this day of Shabbat, this day of rest that, as we will sing later in our service and as we read in this week's Torah portion, teaches us vayinafash, teaches us that word that comes from the root word meaning soul, but the reflexive of it, meaning that it renews itself. It renews who we are each and every week. And as we come together this Shabbat, we can really, truly take that step back and rest and reflect and do the work of renewing ourselves. It's not supposed to include work on Shabbat, but it truly is that work, that inner work, that self-work that we do on Shabbat to renew who we are as we end this week before beginning the next one. We'll begin our service this evening on page 128, singing the words from the Psalms and say how beautiful it is, how lovely that all of us, brothers and sisters, are here together.
Shavarachim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manayim. 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 Shavarachim gam yachad.
We turn back in our prayer books to page 120. As we do each week, we welcome in Shabbat by adding light to creation. So I'm going to invite the chair of our ritual committee, Sherry Nemiroff, to come forward to light our Sabbath lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. There are trick Shabbos candles tonight. Page 127. In the bottom of the page, we read together. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. We turn to page 130 as we enter into Kabbalat Shabbat, our service for the welcoming of the Sabbath.
Shiru Adonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai Shir Chadash. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai Shir Chadash.
Page 134. Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor. B'chinor v'kol zimra. V'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar hariu livnei hamelech Adonai. Yiram hayam umla'o tevel v'yoshreva. Neharot yimcha'u chav yachad harim yiranenu. Sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and melodious song. With trumpets and the blast of horn, raise a shout before Adonai the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its peoples with equity. Page 136, Psalm 29. Mizmor LeDavid. Havu l'Adonai b'nei Elim. Havu l'Adonai kavod va'oz. Havu l'Adonai kavod shemo. Hishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim. El hakavod hirim. Adonai al mayim rabim. Together, a psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Syrian like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calve and strips forest bare. While in God's temple all say glory. Adonai sat enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned, sovereign forever. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. May God grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. Page 138, we sing together L'chadodi.
Yala la 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 l'chadodi. Yala la 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 l'karkala. Yala la 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 b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat l'Kabbalat. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Ishmianu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litilah. Yalalai l'chadodi. Yalalai l'karkala. Yalalai b'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lecho v'nelcha. כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדש נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה יאללה לך אדוני יאללה לקראת כלה יאללה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי בא אורך ומי אורי שדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה יאללה לך אדוני יאללה לקראת כלה יאללה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עצרת בלה גם בשמחה וצהלה תוך אמונה עם סגולה בואי כלה יאללה לך אדוני יאללה לקראת כלה יאללה פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. Page 141, Psalm 93. Adonai Malach Geut Lavesh. Adonai is sovereign, God is robed in grandeur. Adonai is robed, God is girded with strength. The world stands firm, it cannot be shaken. Your throne stands firm from of old, from eternity you have existed. The ocean sounds Adonai, the ocean sounds its thunder, the ocean sounds its pounding. Above the thunder of the mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea, is Adonai majestic on high. Your decrees are indeed enduring, holiness befits your house, Adonai for all times. We turn now to page 144 as we transition into Mariv with the Shema and its blessings using the words of the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
ועלמא יפרח חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייך בנו יום מכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר יתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה שבחתה ונחמתה נאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יאללה לי 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 יאללה לי לי לי. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai Amvorach. Baruch Adonai Amvorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam va'ed Yalla lai 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 Am I awake? Am I prepared?
Please be seated as we read together at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Ukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu mishokmenu, Hukumenu na'asiach b'chukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratcha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, Le'orech yameinu, Uvahem nege yomam v'layla, Nege yomam v'layla. Yahavat chal tasir, Imenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha. Ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. Beshitecha beveitecha uvlechtecha vaderech uveshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot beineinecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lema'an tizkiru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai Vitem kedoshim leloechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzekti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem emet.
Page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yeah, la 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 la.
I feel like we have to try that again. Yai lai 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 lai. Sing with the rabbi.
Yeah, la 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 la.
Mi kamocha ba'eli madonai. Mi kamocha neder b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'eli madonai. Mi kamocha neder b'kodesh. Nora. Oh, say Nora. Oh, say Pele Adonai. Himloch le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai.
Yeah, la 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 la.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Yeah, la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai Ka'al Yisrael. Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and shelter be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ashkivenu, Leshalom. Leha'amidenu, Shomreinu Lekayim, Ufros Aleinu, Sukat Shlomecha, Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Ashkivenu, Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Page 162, we turn, as I mentioned earlier in the service, to words from our Torah, words that come from this week's Parsha, from this week's Torah portion, that remind us that as we keep Shabbat, it will keep us as well, renewing us, renewing our souls. And though we are a small group, we are a mighty group.
We are few in number, right?
Yes, but since this is from this week's Parsha, I think the Ruach level needs to be raised. Jack, I know you were upset we didn't woo last week, so this is for you. And those of you at home can join in and singing and clapping and rejoicing in this song that celebrates this Shabbat.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat ledorot haberit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat Lasot et HaShabbat ledorot haberit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael lo ti le'olam. Oti leolam beshamru bnei Yisrael et Shabbat Lasot et Shabbat ledor tamid olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz beshamru bnei Yisrael et Shabbat Lasot et Shabbat ledor tamid olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vaynafash Shabbat vaynafash Shabbat vaynafash Veshamru bnei Yisrael et Shabbat Lasot et Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Page 165. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. We rise on page 164 for the tefillah, the central prayer section of our service. We sing together the opening psalm, and then I invite you to continue in your own way, in your own time, in your own space, with the words on the page through 181, or the words and prayers you hold in your thoughts and minds.
Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, simpatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. Yalla lai lai lai. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
When I was growing up, there were a few nights of the year that I could count on to be able to stay up late watching TV. The first was the Super Bowl, just like last weekend, and I feel like it's getting later and later every year, or maybe I'm just getting older every year. But the other one happened just a number of weeks later as we approached the Passover and Easter season. Anybody guess what the night was? I think I heard it. The night the 10 Commandments was on TV. Happens once a year, right? But the entire show is, or the entire movie is shown with commercials on some random Sunday night. So it was always extra special because it was a school night that I got to stay up extraordinarily late watching Charlton Heston lead the people away from Yul Brynner. And because of that, I can't help but read this week's Parsha in any other way than with Edward G. Robinson's voice in my head as we read about Egel HaZahav, the golden calf. And I would do the impression, but it wouldn't do it justice, about asking, where's your Moses now? But that's what happened. Moses was up on the mountain getting God's laws, and the people grew impatient. The people, in many ways, having just come out of Egypt, the rabbis refer to them as in sort of a toddler-esque state. They're a newborn people, having just started to understand the rules of society, the rules they needed to live by. And if anybody here has had a child of that age, you know that they're not patient. And the Israelites were the same way. They were impatient. They wanted to know where Moses was, why he was taking so long with God on the mountain. And so they went to Aaron. They went to Aaron and said, Aaron, Moses told us about God, told us that God was going to lead us through the wilderness, but we don't know where Moses is. For all we know, he could be dead. You, Aaron, you know what it is to make a God. Make one for us. And so Aaron acquiesced. He said, yes, bring me your gold, bring me your jewels, take your earrings, and I will melt them down. And he constructed the golden calf, what our rabbis refer to as the great sin, known as the greatest sin that the Jewish people have ever committed. Having just come out of Egypt, having just stood at Sinai, hearing God's laws, hearing the 10 Commandments, they turn aside to build an idol. Seems like a long time ago. We don't have idols anymore. We don't worship the golden calf. On the contrary, our society is filled with idols. Just a few short years ago, the most popular show on TV was American Idol. We built up people into idols. We continually build up people into idols. Celebrities, politicians, athletes. We treat them as godlike. We also treat materials as godlike. Cars, money, jewelry, technology. These are the idols that we have. These are the things that turn us away from the divine source of goodness in the world and focus our minds on that which is treated like a god, but couldn't be farther from God. When we treat the material, when we treat the individual as godlike, we are committing the same act that our ancestors did when they built the golden calf. And yet I've alluded to twice in tonight's service, Vishamru. Vishamru comes to us in the Torah just before the golden calf. And when things fall in the Torah, they fall in a certain way. Our rabbis teach, Ein mukdam ve'ein me'uchar b'Torah. There is no early and late in the Torah. For someone who is a literary critic, somebody with a literature background, it must drive them nuts because there is no direct single narrative in Torah that the rabbis understand. So when Vishamru comes immediately before the golden calf, they must be connected for a reason. The Torah says, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor. God said to Moses, saying, Daber el bnei Yisrael lemor ach et shabtotai tishmoru ki othi beini uvenechem ledorotechem ladad ki ani Adonai mikdashechem. Speak to the Israelite people and say, you must keep my Sabbaths, for this is a sign between me and you throughout the ages, that you may know that I, the Eternal, have consecrated you. You shall keep the Sabbath, for it is holy for you. One who profanes it shall be put to death. Whoever does work on it, that person shall be cut off from among their kin. 6 days may work be done, but on the seventh day there shall be a Sabbath of complete rest, holy to the Eternal. Whoever does work on the Sabbath day shall be put to death. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam. The Israelite people shall keep the Sabbath, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. Shabbat is designed to keep us with God. When we celebrate Shabbat each week, we take that time. I mentioned earlier that it's the work of renewal, but it truly is the work of connection. At the beginning of Shabbat, we welcome in the bride of Israel, the Kabbalat Shabbat, the bride of the Sabbath. And the rabbis teach that Shabbat and Israel are betrothed to one another, connecting us, therefore, to the presence of God. Shabbat and idolatry, falling right next to each other in Torah, is meant to show us that one does not lead to the other. Rather, one can prevent the other. When we keep Shabbat, when we set aside this time each and every week, it not only focuses us for these 24 hours, but it keeps us on the right path as we come out of Shabbat. As we leave Shabbat tomorrow night with Havdalah, we take this lesson of Shabbat, of keeping the Sabbath, of keeping close to the divine with us. It's why tomorrow night during Havdalah, we smell the spices, we taste the wine, we view and we feel the fire of the candle, so that our senses are imprinted with the blessings of, the lessons of, and the memories of Shabbat throughout the week. And only when they start to wane next Friday, we light our candles again. There are many idols in society. There are many temptations. There are many things that can draw us astray. We become impatient. We become short-sighted, short-tempered, and we turn to that which is a quick and easy fix, like our ancestors did. But Shabbat, this time, is truly a blessing because it brings us back. And it allows us to stay connected to that which is good and high and holy in the world. Amen. With our hearts opened by words of Torah, we take a moment to think of those members of our community who are ill. Some are at home, some are in the hospital, some have diseases and illnesses from which they may never recover. We think of all of them as we ask for God's healing presence to be with them. This week, we think especially of Renee Fan, Allah Yusuf, Susan Abrams, Yael Bat David Vilea, Linda Galler, Bev Mahone, Sylvia Kirsch, Alan Friedman, Sarah Kahn, Lee Silverstein, Jill Vanting, Eleanor Goodman, Yuli Makovich, Libby Routman, Laurel Phoenix, Marjorie Whitmore, Jerry Phillips, Claire Levin, Paul Kershaw, Reva Fisher, Leslie Knight, Bert Singerman, Stephen Schiff, Mateo Velasquez, Dr. David Mazel, Max Jacobs, Kathy Waldner, Richard Zussman, Christopher Denton, Jerry Gimple, Phyllis Lapin, Jacob Blaine. You are thinking of someone who is in need of a prayer of healing, healing of body, spirit, or soul. I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours, or to add their name to the chat. We think of all of those we have named. We also think of those in our community and those in the broader community who are currently battling COVID-19. We think of all of those who are victims of violence around the world. May they be blessed with health and hope, peace and love. We ask God to also be with those who care for the sick each day. May they be blessed with strength and support, love. We ask for God's healing presence to be with all of us and all we think of. We sing this blessing on page 371.
Ishebera avotenu lekor abraha ve'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu lekor habracha ve'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn now in our prayer books to page 586 as we rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, Shehu notesh shamayim v'yoseh haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchiratu zo b'govei meromim, u'Eloheinu ein od. Anachnu koreim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'aya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades. Its substance is consumed and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this sacred moment of our Shabbat evening worship, we think longingly and lovingly of those taken from us, both recently and at this season in years past. We are in a period of Shiva, the first 7 days since his funeral of Joel Cinco, and we mark the yahrzeits, the anniversary of their passing on this Shabbat, of Selma Bauer, Catherine Carbone, Gertrude Cohen, Samuel Edelstein, Diane Fagis, Lynn Fox, Virginia Joya, Jack Goldberg, Bessie Goldsmith, Jeanette Karp, Ida Prince, Harry Rasevsky, Anita Rubenstein, and Barton Schwartz. If you are remembering someone on this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours, or to add their name at this time to the chat. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be a blessing. And may we take their memories into our hearts, along with the millions of our people who have no one to say Kaddish for them. As we turn now in our prayer books to page 598 and rise as one community, praising the ever-living name of God with the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach dirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye echon v'yom echon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam l'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. Yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Bimru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Bimru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn. Comfort to all the bereaved here and everywhere with the blessing of peace. Together we all say, amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimeru, amen.
Please be seated. I'm going to throw you a curveball.
No curveballs.
I'm going to throw you a curveball tonight. because it is the Shabbat of Vishamru, the Shabbat where we're reminded to keep Shabbat. Let's finish maybe Maya Hayom.
No, I don't think I remember that one.
128.
Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
Good evening. Once again, welcome to Congregation Dor Tamid. It is so wonderful to be here with all of you this evening, both in person and virtually. Just a few brief announcements before we conclude our service with a Kiddush and a Motzi. Just a reminder, there is no religious school this weekend because it is President's Day weekend. So we are not meeting this Sunday morning. Wednesday, Torah study meets at 11 o'clock, and this is going to be one of the final weeks that we are going to be able to call it Torah study, because as I've been promising for months, we are almost at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. We finally hit chapter 30. There's 34 chapters in Deuteronomy, and our class has decided that when we finish Deuteronomy, to continue with the book of Joshua and to read the rest of the Hebrew Bible. So anybody who really wants to study Genesis, let me know. We'll talk offline, but for this group, it's going to be about 28 years before we get there. So you'll have to be patient. But that being said, it's always a great class. Joshua is a great time to pick up because it's something many of us have never looked at, never studied. If you are looking to, after Shabbos, purchase a copy of the Tanakh for the class, I recommend the Jewish Publication Society, the JPS one, with Hebrew and English, or the Jewish Study Bible. But once again, we can talk offline for more details or after the service. Additionally, this week, our knitting and crochet group meets on Thursday at 1 o'clock on Zoom. Talk to Leslie Penuel if you are interested in joining, and she will get you the Zoom link for that. Next Friday, I am excited because it is the confirmation trip to New York City. So I will be missing all of you next week, but we will be sending lots of pictures back from New York and eating our way through Manhattan as we get back to New York with our confirmands after missing it last year. But for those of you who won't be in Manhattan, come to CDT for services, because it is our next musical Shabbat service where we are going to be doing TV theme shows Shabbat. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I am sorry I'm missing it because it sounds like a great service. What I've heard from it.
We will not be eating our way through the service. No one will have to cart you off.
Exactly. So come next Friday night. It's going to be a wonderful service. We do have religious school then back next Sunday morning. And then on March 2nd will be an introductory meeting with Mike and Molly and myself about our adult B'nai Mitzvah program that will be starting this March, leading up until next February at Parshat Yitro, where we will celebrate an adult B'nai Mitzvah here at CDT. If you are interested at all, please come to this meeting March 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Our thanks this week goes to Paula Bloom, the chair of our Social Action Committee, and her whole committee for all of the work working with the Gwinnett School for the Disabled, and really for everybody who participated in helping out the school over the past number of weeks get a whole list of things that they sorely needed to be able to serve their students and their community. It is the third Shabbat of February, which means it's anniversary Shabbat. We do have one anniversary I want to point out of somebody who I know is joining us virtually. but isn't here in the sanctuary tonight. George and Kathy Waldner this week celebrated their 53rd anniversary. So mazel tov to the two of you. And George and Kathy, the next time you're here, come find me and we'll make sure, or Mike, and we'll make sure to get you your chocolate that you're not getting tonight. But is there anybody in the room celebrating a February anniversary? Okay.
Yay.
So as I come over to you, please introduce yourself to the congregation and let us know how many years you're celebrating this year.
Yeah, so who are you? And
Yes. And how many years? Yes. Mazel tov.
seven tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, seven tov, seven tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, seven tov, seven tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, seven tov, yay ladu. That's 107 years of marriage between the two couples. Impressive.
We are, yeah, we're approaching that, but we've got a few years to catch up.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. We're going to conclude our service now with a Kiddush and a Motzi. Those of you who are here in the sanctuary are welcome to join us for our Oneg Shabbat. The food, because of the chilliness outside, is set up inside, and then we can bundle up outside to have a nash together. But before that, let's say Kiddush, page 123. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagahaped. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshara b'mitzvotav v'ratza banu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahav u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ivanu v'acharta v'yotanu gidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'yava u'v'ratzon hinchalatanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
Chaim.
Chaim.
We uncover the challah as we sing together.
Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Motzi lechem min haaretz.
Te'avon, we ask for God's blessing. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you safe. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the light of God's smiling face shine upon you and be kind and loving and gracious to you. May God always bless you with the most precious of all gifts, the gifts of shalom, health and happiness, joy and peace. Together we all say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.